To buy a book, just click on the Amazon link in the description and make your purchase of anything within 24 hours. Quick Savant will earn a small commission, which he will use to feed his 4 rescue dogs. Fight Inside the Wildest Battle for. The White House, a Kindle edition authored by Jonathan Allen and Amie Parnes, offers an exhaustive, gripping, and meticulously researched account of the tumultuous 2024 U.S. presidential election. Known for their previous New York Times bestsellers, such as Shattered, Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Campaign, and HRC, State Secrets, and the Rebirth of Hillary Clinton, Allen and Parnes bring their seasoned journalistic expertise to this vivid narrative. Allen, an award-winning political reporter for NBC News with a background as Washington bureau chief for Bloomberg News and Politico, and Parnes, a senior political correspondent at The Hill with extensive experience covering national politics, combine their insider access and storytelling prowess to dissect what they describe as one of the most consequential and chaotic elections in American history. Published on April 3, 2025, by William Morrow, this book draws from real-time interviews with over 150 insiders from the Trump, Harris, and Biden camps, as well as party leaders and operatives, to provide a behind-the-scenes look at the raw, unfiltered dynamics of this extraordinary political contest. The book opens with a premise that sets the stage for its dramatic recounting. The 2024 election was a roller coaster that defied expectations and upended norms. It forced a sitting president, Joe Biden, to abandon his re-election bid following a disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump, compelled Trump himself to navigate felony convictions and an assassination attempt, and thrust Vice President Kamala Harris into an unprecedented 107-day campaign to lead the free world. The authors frame this election as blood sport politics in its rawest form, characterized by clawing ambition, backstabbing betrayals, and relentless rabble-rousing, that ultimately propelled Trump back into the White House while leaving the Democratic Party reeling in disarray. The narrative toggles between the key players, Trump, Harris, and Biden, offering a panoramic view of their motivations, strategies, and innermost thoughts as they vied for the ultimate prize and sought to define a political era. For Donald Trump, the election was a testament to his enduring ability to connect with a dissatisfied electorate. Despite facing significant personal and legal challenges, felony convictions, and surviving a would-be assassin's bullet, Trump overcame voter concerns about his flaws by tapping into a deep well of frustration with the country's direction. The authors detail how his campaign capitalized on this discontent, portraying him as a resilient figure who thrived amid chaos. They explore his strategic maneuvers, including his outreach to younger demographics like Gen Z and his selection of a running mate, though they note that these aspects may not reveal groundbreaking insights beyond what was already public. Nonetheless, Trump emerges as a central figure whose combative style and unrelenting drive shaped the election's outcome. A scathing portrait of dysfunction and miscalculation. Joe Biden's decision to seek re-election at age 80 is presented as his original sin, a choice driven by what the authors call naked egotism. His campaign, insulated by loyal aides and family members like First Lady Jill Biden and son Hunter, kept him distant from voters, a strategy that backfired spectacularly during his June 27, 2024, debate with Trump in Atlanta. Allen and Parnes vividly recount the fallout, including a donor event hosted by New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy 2 days later, where Biden required fluorescent tape on the carpet to guide his steps, a stark symbol of his frailty. His refusal to exit the race promptly after the debate, despite pressure from party heavyweights like Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi, delayed the transition to Harris and fractured party unity. The authors argue that Biden's insistence on portraying his administration as economically prosperous clashed with voters' lived experiences, alienating an electorate that felt misled by his bridge president promise. Kamala Harris, unexpectedly, thrust into the spotlight after Biden's withdrawal, is depicted as both a victim of circumstance and a flawed candidate in her own right. The book details her team's preparations for a potential Biden exit as early as 2023, including a death pool roster of judges to swear her in if he died in office, an unsettling contingency plan led by her communications director, Jamal Simmons. Once she became the nominee, Harris struggled to articulate a compelling reason for her candidacy beyond being the next in line. The authors suggest she was constrained by Biden's demand for loyalty, unable to distance herself from his unpopular record. Despite a strong debate performance against Trump, her campaign faltered as she failed to forge a distinct identity, hampered by insecurity and a perceived lack of political acumen, surprising traits for a former prosecutor. Allen and Parnes portray her 107-day sprint as a valiant but doomed effort to steer a sinking ship. The book's strength lies in its insider scoops and detailed reconstructions of pivotal moments. It reveals the tensions within the Democratic Party, such as Obama's initial lack of faith in both Biden and Harris, and Pelosi's behind-the-scenes maneuvering to force Biden out. A particularly striking anecdote involves a post-debate call between Obama and Biden, where the former vice president intuited Obama's push for his exit, a move Biden resisted partly to spite his old boss. The authors also highlight the role of figures like Jim Clyburn, whose support cemented Harris's nomination despite resistance from party elites. On the Republican side, Trump's campaign is shown as a juggernaut that weathered internal and external storms, though the narrative occasionally leans on familiar tropes about his appeal, while Fight is lauded for its riveting storytelling and comprehensive scope, and the book succeeds in delivering a fast-paced, dramatic account that avoids ideological pontification, focusing instead on the personalities, strategies, and raw power struggles that define the race. With its blend of fresh revelations and seasoned analysis, Fight Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House stands as a definitive chronicle of an election that reshaped American politics, offering readers a front-row seat to the chaos, ambition, and human frailty that drove it all. The following is the book description written on Amazon. The ride was so wild that it forced a sitting president to drop his re-election bid, a once-and-future president to survive felony convictions and a would-be assassin's bullet, and a vice president unexpectedly thrust into the arena to mount an unprecedented 107-day campaign to lead the free world. Fight is the backstage story of bloodsport politics in its rawest form, the clawing, backstabbing, and rabble-rousing that drove Donald Trump into the White House and Democrats into the wilderness. At every turn, the combatants went for the jugular, whether they were facing down rivals in the other party. Jonathan Allen and Amie Parnes give readers their first graphic view of the characters, their motivations, and their innermost thoughts as they battled to claim the ultimate prize and define a political era. Based on real-time interviews with more than 150 insiders from the Trump, Harris, and Biden inner circles, as well as party leaders and operatives, Fight delivers the vivid and stunning tale of an election unlike any other. In the end, Trump overcame voters' concerns about his personal flaws by tapping into a deep vein of dissatisfaction with the direction of the country. At the same time, Democrats struggled to connect with an electorate that felt gaslit by Biden's insistence that he had delivered economic prosperity and his pledge to be a bridge president. He tore his party asunder, leaving personal relationships destroyed in his wake as he clung to power. And when he gave it up, he kneecapped Harris by demanding unprecedented loyalty from her. As Allen and Parnes have done in the #1 New York Times bestseller Shattered and Lucky, they provide readers with a skeleton key to the rooms where it all happened, revealing a story more shocking than previously reported. You may also be interested in summary, Too Much and Never Enough, Mary L. Trump by Quick Savant. Warning: this is a bestseller summary and analysis of Too Much and Never Enough by Mary L. Trump. It is not the original book. Whether you are for Trump or against him, Too Much and Never Enough by Mary L. Trump dumps an entire load of skeletons from Trump, closets at your feet for perusal. Mary claims Trump is an unlovable, bullying, cruel, crass, racist, sociopathic fraud with delusions of grandeur. Rather than working for the American people, Mary suggests he is only out for Trump and his children, for the empire, for more power, riches, and fame. He wants to be the greatest and the best American president in history. The American people are but tools to reach their personal goals. He would never associate with the type of people who voted for him: middle-class Bible Belt Republicans. One irony is that Donald's father, Fred Trump, used New York Democrat political machines to finance his real estate empire. Fred became rich from construction paid for by FHA, Roosevelt-branded subsidies post-W2'd, a Democrat proposal that made many developers extremely wealthy. Mary discusses her interaction with journalists from the New York Times and cites one of their articles as her primary source of financial background information on Trump after giving them some critical documents from her grandfather's estate. In one section, Mary recalls witnessing her father pointing a rifle at their mother's head. and other childhood memories. In another, she becomes a sophisticated political analyst ripping apart Trump, reminiscent of a Democrat New York Times columnist. Is Mary, as a psychologist, qualified to make statements like Hillary, well known for pay-to-play corruption, was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president? Has she ever studied all of the candidates to run for president? Or did she just read it in the New York Times? Or did a ghostwriter toss this in to slam Trump? Towards the end of the book, we read page upon page of sophisticated political analysis, which discredits Trump. It makes the reader wonder how much of the book is her material, and how much could have been written by professional political character assassins as a high-profile op-ed. Mary poses as a COVID-19 expert, blaming everything, negative on Trump's adverse childhood that made him so cruel and uncaring. She regurgitates verbatim the standard leftist diatribes crafted to scapegoat Trump when there is substantial evidence that the Democrats colluded with the Chinese to make the pandemic and the money she lost from her inheritance. Is she wittingly being used by the left to attack Trump and paid handsomely through book royalties? The information presented is shocking and unforgettable, like when Donald has a bowl of mashed potatoes dumped on his head at age 12 for teasing his younger brother, Robert. Should we praise Mary for sharing what she is convinced is President Trump's true nature? Or should we get a bowl of mashed potatoes ready for her head for seeking revenge, money, and working for the left to effect an election?